this, of course. So
Yeah.
I'm sure I've never been on camera much in my life, so
Okay.
I'm a little nervous.
It's all right. It's okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Ann Steiner, and I want to ask you. I want to hear your story.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Decatur, Illinois, which is in central Illinois, about 180 miles south of Chicago. And I was raised in a Reformed synagogue. And by the time I was 15, I had a chance to come to Israel with NIFTY, National Federation of Temple Youth Groups, on a 6.5-week tour. And I really didn't want to come. And my mother talked me into it, and so I did my tour. We worked on kibbutz care. I was on the archaeology dig in Jerusalem, and toured the whole country, from the Golan Heights down to Sharm el-Sheikh in the Sinai, climbed Sinai, Masada, etc. And when the tour was over, I went home, and I was ready to go home. I'd never been away from home before. And when I got home, I was home about a week, and I was laying in bed there, and all of a sudden a thought just popped in my mind. Everybody was Jewish there, and I'd never been in a country where the majority was Jewish. I'd been the minority my whole life. So I decided I gotta go back there again. And it was probably about, maybe less than a year later, I got a little postcard in the mail from, I think it was from Miami, and it was a program called High School in Israel, which was located at the time near Kfar Sava. And it was an 8-week program, and so I signed up for that, and we studied all the history of Israel, and when we were studying a certain topic, we would go there. And my teacher told us, and it never really dawned on me till I was in class one day, he says, you can live here if you want. And that's at 17, I was 17 by then, that's when I decided I wanted to live here. So, to make a long story short, through the years I've been here numerous times. And back in 2015 in the winter, I was actually sitting on the couch in my house in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I was telling my wife, I said, you know, we're not getting any younger, and if we're gonna go, we better go now. And she just looked at me and she said, you should have went years ago. So within approximately 6 months, I landed in Tel Aviv, 6 weeks ahead of my family. And I stayed in Tel Aviv for about a month. I knew I wanted to live in the Negev, I didn't know where. So I traveled to the different communities, and I wasn't really impressed with they were nice cities, I just didn't hit me right. And when I was in the Misrata Panim in Tel Aviv trying to get some paperwork in order for my family, and how they make you wait for hours, so I got on my phone and went on the Nefesh Ben Nefesh, and I looked up cities in the south in Israel. And I was reading about all the cities, and when I read about Yerucham, I thought, well, that looks nice. So when I finished talking to the individual there at the Misrata Panim, when I finished my business, I walked out the front door and I asked the security guard, I said, which bus to the central bus station, and went from the Misrata Panim to the bus station, and happened to be there was a bus leaving for Yerucham within a couple minutes, and I took a direct bus to Yerucham, and when I got off the bus I walked around the city, and I thought this would be nice for my family and I. And I wanted a small city because I have a 9-year-old child, and that way I knew maybe she'd be more comfortable, be easier to make friends and everything. So.
Okay, tell me, when you were growing up, was it a Jewish home? Did you celebrate the holidays?
Yeah, we celebrated. We went to synagogue for Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. Of course, I had a bar mitzvah. Big bar mitzvah. went to the, at the Reformed Synagogue, I went to the religious school till I was 15, almost 16. That's when you had your trip to Israel, when you were finished with the school. Wasn't real religious, but, you know, I knew I was Jewish, and of course we celebrated, our family, you know, we had the Seder and everything. We celebrated the holidays. We didn't, you know, we were always had good feelings towards Israel and everything, but I wouldn't say I was a strong Zionist then. It wasn't until I came here and I saw the land, you know, and realized I could live here, that I fell in love with it. And I feel more at home here in Israel, and I really mean that than I do anywhere in the world. I've traveled a lot of countries in the world in my life. And always in Israel I feel I'm at home. Actually, from the moment I saw it from the airplane when I was 15, I just knew it was like I knew I was coming home. And
wow.
I mean, it was just came over me. This, you know, like, this is your home.
Tell me a little about your family. You mentioned before, like, a shoe store. They had a shoe store?
My grandfather, he's from a little village near Warsaw, Poland, originally. And his father, which would have been my great-grandfather, would come back and forth to the United States and work a little bit and go back to Poland. Well, on his last trip in 1910, he decided to take my grandfather with him, who was 14 at the time. He was an accomplished shoemaker by then, and they were going to go to the United States, and they did, and work. Well, when my great-grandfather said, well, it's time to go back to Poland, my grandfather said, I like it here. I'm not leaving. And he never saw his dad again. He was on his own. And he only had $2 in his pocket. But he knew how to make shoes. So he'd buy used shoes and fix it. And he lived in a lot of different cities. Evansville, Indiana. He lived in St. Louis. And then he eventually moved to Decatur, Illinois, and opened up a shoe repair shop, which eventually became a outlet discount shoe store.
Oh.
And
so your grandfather came over, and he left his father back in Poland.
No, his father brought him over here to work. He would come temporarily and work, make money, and then go back to Poland. On his last trip to the United States, my great-grandfather, he brought my grandfather with him, and when it was time to return to Poland, my grandfather told his dad, I don't want to go back, I like it here. And he never saw his dad again, ever. And my grandmother, my grandfather's wife, she's from Latvia.
Oh.
And he met her in St. Louis, and they got married when she was 17 and he was 18, and they stayed married for, gosh, over 50 years, I know.
Wow. And you went to high school in Decatur, and then you went to that program in...
No, that was actually during my senior year in high school in Decatur, Illinois, that they had this high school program. So actually the school that I went to in Illinois would not support me to go. So what I did was I talked to all my teachers individually, because the administration they said you don't need to go to Israel. And I really wanted to go. And I said, listen, if I go to Israel, if I work ahead on all my studies, when I get back, can I take my finals? And all my teachers helped me in all my classes to do that. So I worked ahead and was finished with the whole semester's work. They gave me all the assignments, and I worked way ahead. And when I returned, I was able to take my finals and do my last semester of my senior year and graduate with my class.
Oh.
So I actually had to drop out of high school to do it and reinstate myself into high school. I dropped out with straight A's.
Okay, and then you lived most of your life in the United States, in different places, I understood, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little about like what you did and what
Yeah.
you saw?
Well, actually, for 17 years, I worked with my father, and I became the shoe repairman in his shoe store, and I fixed shoes, which I really enjoyed. And when my father passed away, I decided I wanted to move on, do something else, and I got a chance to learn how to be an electrician. I got in the union and went to their 5-year program and graduated from there. And I've traveled all over the country working different union jobs, you know.
Oh.
Texas, at Bell Helicopter, General Motors in Arlington, Texas. I helped rebuild a hospital in Missouri when they had the big tornadoes in Joplin, Missouri.
Joplin, Missouri.
Yeah, I've worked at nuclear power plants in Illinois, Alabama, and in Tennessee. Actually, my last job before I came here was to help finish the reactor for the newest nuclear reactor in the United States. It just went online about probably 6 months ago, approximately, near Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh.
So I've had a lot of different jobs, a lot of experiences, seen a lot of the country and everything.
When you came to Israel, you came 6 months before your wife and daughter.
No, 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
6 weeks.
Can you tell me about, like, did anyone help you make Aliyah, the Jewish agency, Nefesh B'Nefesh, or you just decided to?
I decided to go, and this is how we did it. This was our way of doing it, and I believe every individual should do what's best for them. I was trying to get everything in order for everybody before we went. I was talking to the Jewish agency. I'd been on the phone with Nefesh B'Nefesh and everything. And my wife gave me an idea. She said, why don't you just go on ahead and just go there and do everything there. And I believe I've learned as I've gotten older, it's good to listen to your wife. And she said, you find a city to live in, a house to apartment to live in and everything. And for my family, that worked out the best.
Okay. Okay, so you got off the plane and you, wow.
Got off the plane, I knew I was going to Tel Aviv. That was going to be my base.
All right, okay.
And I knew where I was going to stay at a youth hostel, you know, on Har Yarkon Street.
Ah.
Not far from the U.S.
I know
Embassy.
where it is, yeah.
Called 48 Har Yarkon or something like that. Excuse me. And that was my base, and you know, I went to the Misrata Klita. It was one of the first things I did. You know, we got a $2 situated, etc. And started really, you know, and started on the paperwork for my wife and my child and everything. I brought all my important documents with me for all of our family, marriage certificate, birth certificate, all had apostille on them and everything, so I had all that handy. And also looking for a place to live. You know, I had no idea, except I knew I wanted to live in the Negev. I wanted to live in a dry heat. I was tired of living in humidity my whole life.
And were the people like welcoming?
Yes, yes. In my personal experience, everybody's been helpful. I haven't run into too many snags here. You know, there's a lot of bureaucracy, of course, and you just kind of go with the flow. If you go with the flow and you cooperate and don't try to too much bulk at the system, it goes smoother for you. At least for me it did.
Oh, wow,
You
yeah.
know?
So tell me about, and you work here, can you tell me a little about your job?
Okay. My first job, I'd been here about 3 months, and I thought, well, it's probably time I need to get a job. And probably good for me to get out of the house a while so my wife could have some time. So I went to the unemployment office here in Lirucham, and I told her I'm an electrician, and she said, well, I don't have any electrical jobs. And I said, well, I can do anything, you know. I don't mean I can actually do anything, but I said there's other types of work I can do. I don't have to do electrical. So And she said, well, they need a dishwasher here at the hotel. And I had been a manager at a restaurant when I was in my 20s for probably about 7-8 months. So I was pretty familiar with the restaurant business. So I took the referral and went to the hotel, and they hired me as a dishwasher there. And I worked there about 6 months. And then after I got used to working in Israel and being around the people and everything, I knew it was time to look for electrical work. And then I got a job with an electrical contractor, and I've worked at different places in, I think it's, is Neviot or is it Kiryat Gat, which is right on the border with Gaza.
Netivot.
Netivot, yes.
Right.
I worked there for a little bit. For this contractor, I worked at Kibbutz Mashabei Sadeh for them. And then the unemployment office, the lady that worked there, she's very nice. I think Sarah's her name. She called me and told me about this job in Ashalim where they're building a solar power plant. And so she kept calling me, so I thought, okay, I'll go talk to him. So they were interviewing everybody in Dimona. And it was actually for a production worker. She said, tell me you're an electrician. So I told her, and she said, I told the person in Dimona that I was an electrician, and so she made some phone calls, and she said, I want you to go to the plant right now and talk to the project manager, and they hired me for maintenance. Oh. Which turned out to be a very, very, very good. I like that a lot.
Okay.
Because I get to fix things. I like to fix things.
Okay.
So that worked out good.
Wow, that's great, yeah. Ashalim, which is down towards Stable Carries.
Yes, it's south of Yerucham here on Highway 40. It's probably about 25 minutes approximately ride from Yerucham.
Okay. And they give you transportation?
Yeah, they come and pick you up on the bus, they bring you home, and they feed you there.
That's good, yeah. Tell me something, and how do you find Yerucham?
I love Yerucham.
Oh.
I've lived in different sized cities in my life. Decatur was mid-sized, Knoxville was about the size of Beersheba. I like it here because when I first got here I didn't have a car. I could walk anywhere I wanted. I could be, if I needed to go to the store, to go to work. Everybody's really friendly here. You know, it's like a small town atmosphere.
Small town, yeah.
I just felt, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like when I got off the bus the first time here and walked around town. I had a good gut feeling about the town. I just feel really comfortable here.
Okay.
And I've met a lot of very wonderful people when I got here. I couldn't tell you how many people would have me over for Shabbat. I can't even count on my hand now. I was invited here. Everybody tried to make me feel at home and feed me and everything. And call me and make sure they're okay. And even people that I run the town, they said if you have problems, which I took a few up on it, you know, I'll help you if I needed to understand something or my Hebrew's not very well. They would call for me so they could, you know, talk for me on the phone and everything. So, even the mayor of the town, I met him, and he gave my family a gift card and everything from the store, you know, to welcome us here.
Wow.
So, no, I'm very, very pleased that I found this. Plus, if I want to go to the big city, I can go to Beersheba down the road.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else that you want people to know about your experience, about coming to a new country?
Well, like I said, you know, when I come to Israel, I feel like I'm coming home. And I can't, you know, I've always wanted to live here my whole life. And I things never worked out to do it. Until I finally made that final decision and just did it. And I have no regrets. You know, this is not the United States. I did not expect to come to the United States, and I do not want to change things here. I came here to live here as an Israeli. And I miss nothing from the United States. I am very comfortable here. I don't yearn to wish I had this or had that. I'm very at peace here. This is my home. I'm a Jew, and this is where I need to live.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.